close enough. I know that a lot of people are here for a couple presentations tonight, but our first presentation tonight is going to be to John Hampson. John, would you join me up here? It's an honor when you're the mayor of Desert Hot Springs to be able to recognize people. Come on up here, John. To recognize people in your community for the services they give you. And John, a lot of you would not know unless you played soccer in Desert Hot Springs, but we've known John for a long time. He came to the Desert Hot Springs AYSO program many years ago as a kid that wanted to play soccer. And he grew up in our program, and then he did what a lot of people would like to see in the city of Desert Hot Springs is you get back to your program. So for many years now, John has been giving back to the program. He started playing soccer at 8 years old, and he came back into the program, and for the last 4 years, he's been the Desert Hot Springs AYSO commissioner. I tried soccer once, but it's a lot of running, so I like baseball a little better. But my kids have played in the program, so I've been down there. I've seen John for many years. You went to Desert Hot Springs High School, right? No, you didn't go to.
It wasn't built yet.
No, it wasn't built yet. Okay, but you played soccer in high school, and he's come back to give back to the program, be the commissioner, and Mayor Pro Tem Nunez loves soccer, and his kids are in soccer, and they worked really close together this year and said, hey, if you're looking for someone that you need to give a recognition to, this is the guy you need to really give something to. So the Desert Hot Springs AYSO program actually is the biggest youth sports program in the city of Desert Hot Springs with over 600 kids involved in it. And each and every season he's been out there, he's been serving from referee all the way up to the commissioner now, right? And so with that, we want to say thank you for your service to the city of Desert Hot Springs and your continued support of the AYSO program and give you a little bit of a recognition for your services. Thank you. You don't have to. Would you like to say anything?
I just wanted to say thank you and thank the city council and everyone. And you know, I love the program, I love the children, and I'm glad that we can support the children in Desert Hot Springs and give them a good place to play and have fun. Thank you very much.
Is that your mom and the other? And we want to give a shout out to his mom. She's the one that brought him and started him in the program and made sure he was here today, so thank you. Now, for what a lot of you are here for today, I'm going to ask that retired, never thought I would hear this in my voice. Retired Captain Frank Stewart, would you join me up here? They say if you don't get a little nervous when you get up to public speak and stuff, there's something wrong, and I don't get very nervous very often. But every time this guy's around me, for some reason, I get nervous. And, you know, we can go off this script, which Frank's... No, let's talk about this. This is going to give away a little bit of your age. But he had 37 years serving Riverside County Fire and CAL FIRE here, and most of his service was for the city of Desert Hot Springs. What a lot of people don't know, back in the 70s and 80s, the program really started with volunteers. And they were kind of the backbone to the program because at one time there was only one person driving that fire engine, and the volunteers had to come in. There's another retired firefighter out there, Chief Dale Hutchinson, who started his program here in Desert Hot Springs also. And we've had some great people come through this program in the city of Desert Hot Springs. And one of them is Frank Stewart. He started as a volunteer in 1986 through 88 and then became a firefighter with CAL FIRE. And then in 93 through 99, he was an engineer for the fire station. So basically he drove the fire engine wherever it needed to go. In 2004, he became a fire captain up till his retirement of 2023. 37 years with the service, 28 served here at Fire Station 37. And it's not only amazing to see that happen in a city like ours that contracts with Riverside County Fire and CAL FIRE, but what's amazing is it was done at one of the busiest, if not the busiest, fire station each and every year in Riverside County. They didn't call it the House of Pain for nothing, but Frank, well, maybe you caused it to become the House of Pain because we had to work with you.
Only for you.
Yes. But there's a lot of stories I like to tell here, and you could tell a lot about Frank. When I started as a volunteer, he was an engineer at Station 36, which was down the road, but part of this battalion. And he was part of the training mechanism and helped mold the volunteers that I was part of at that time. And we learned a lot from this man. When we were in the firehouse and we would get on the fire engine, and if you didn't get yelled at and kicked off and you were lucky enough to stay on that fire engine with them, you could learn basically everything you needed to know about putting out fires and saving lives. My whole 20 years as a volunteer fireman, and I can go back and probably tell a million stories, they almost all have something to do with Frank in it because of his training, his dedication to the city, and his support. I think my leadership, a lot of my leadership skills came from working under him. I truly believe that. So today we're going to honor Frank for his service to the city of Desert Hot Springs. He's a resident of Desert Hot Springs. He grew up here in and around Desert Hot Springs, and he finished his career here in Desert Hot Springs, and that's commendable. So with that said, stand right here. And we'd like to honor you today, Frank, with this plaque that says the City of Desert Hot Springs. This has the key to the city for all your years of service. I don't think it actually works, so don't come back. But with that said, my first question, it does not open my office. No, with that said, we really wanted to show our dedication and appreciation for all your service to the City of Desert Hot Springs, and thank you.
Thank you. Okay, everybody sit down. Thank you, thank you. So Scott makes it sound like it was so easy. It was incredibly hard. It was very hard, actually. No, I'm just kidding. I want to thank the city council, and everybody for all of this, everybody that showed up today. Thank you. Doing this for this many years at this station isn't that easy, as Scott alluded to. I see a lot of you in the crowd here that worked for me over the years. I appreciate everything you did. But most of all, I have to thank my wife and my family. Without their support and her putting the home fires out and dealing with the home emergencies, I wouldn't have been able to do my job like I did. So I want to thank everybody for coming. I appreciate everything. Thank you for the acknowledgement. And I'll just stay happily retired.
And just a quick note on Frank and his family. I mean, his kids are now volunteering at Little League, and grandkids are playing, and the family continues to show support for this community. And thank you to all of you for what you've done. And last but not least,
don't forget the station.
yeah, his wife has made it very clear that Lori's made it very clear, and everybody knows when Lori speaks, we get it done. Frank always seemed like the tough one, but when Lori came to the firehouse, we all ran. We're going to get that done for you. One other thing we're going to do today, Eric, you want to join me up here? We've got a few things to give away here. I'm going to keep you all captive here because Desert Hot Springs is very famous for its hot water. They're from retired fire captain Frank Stewart, and their tacos. So tonight we're going to give some quick awards out to some tacos. I'm going to let Eric talk about the taco tour real quick and what we did with that, and then we're going to hand out some awards and certificates.
Yeah, of course. So thank you, Mayor. Over the last couple of months, we've had a taco tour where we showcased the 10 different restaurants we have here in Desert Hot Springs. We had people go out and get a passport stamp at each one of the locations. At that point, people were to come back and they received a small prize. They were able to as well vote for their favorite restaurant as well as their favorite taco. We do have results for them as well as some stuff for everyone who participated in the event. Took a lot of various restaurants working together and collaborating. It actually brought a lot of those restaurants together. So I do have a few of them in the audience, and yeah, we have some certificates here to hand out. Hopefully we make this event a yearly event and really expand it and make it something fun for the community. So aside from that, we as well do have one other thing, really cool thing that we did. We had the council actually pick their favorite taco drawing. We had students from around Desert Hot Springs submit their taco drawing. And so each one of these kids that won is going to get a gift card to some of the winning restaurants here. So we're excited to do that. And we'll upload these photos so you guys can check them out online as well. And aside from that, we can start handing these out.
All right, nobody make fun of me. I can't roll my R's on some of these names, so this one you help me out with right away. I can't roll any of those R's there.
So we have the first ones, Carniceria Mi Ranchito. Are they here? Come on.
Wanted to say thank you for participating.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you for everything.
Yeah, absolutely.
We got Carniceria Rancho Grande. Is Carniceria Rancho Grande here?
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Wait, I got this one.
Oh, you got this one?
Casablanca. I don't think he's here. Wait, I learned this
Oh,
one.
this one you got this one.
Yeah, delicious.
Not here yet.
Yeah, go with that one.
All right, this is. He didn't want to do this one. Don Ta Corriendo.
Thank you for participating.
El Matador.
Las Palmas. I got this one. South of the border. Zapopan. I don't see it already. Yeah, go with that one.
Taqueria El Güero. No, neither. All right.
So how it worked is, as Eric said, everybody was able to go out and vote for their best tacos they loved in the community. As we found that we have a very large percentage of our restaurants are Mexican restaurants and have tacos. So we thought, what more fun way to do it than have residents go out there and vote for their favorite tacos. And with that, we had a few awards that we wanted to give out. We had the best restaurant and the best taco awards. Which one should we do first?
We can do the
Best restaurant?
restaurants here.
So voted by the Desert Hot Springs public, the 2023 Desert Hot Springs Taco Tour, the Best Restaurant Award goes to Las Palmas Mexican Cuisine.
And Lisa's not in the audience, but.
And then our Best Taco Award went to Delicious, and they're not here tonight, but let's give them a big round. Again, we wanted to thank everybody for participating in that fun event here in Desert Hot Springs. There'll be more of those to come, and then we'll hopefully do a 2024 coming up at the beginning of next year, and then we'll see if we can get some competition really going between all the restaurants here. But thank you all to the restaurants here for participating, and thank you for having your business here in Desert Hot Springs. We really do appreciate it. With that, we're going to break. If anybody wants to come up here and take pictures with Frank, he's available. He's retired now, so the chief can't force him to do it. So, but his wife can, so ask her. I bet you she'll get him to do it. We thank you. We'll be back in 15 minutes for the regular meeting. I'll have the right page up here. Good evening, everybody. This is the City of Desert Hot Springs regular meeting of the City Council, and the City Council serving as the successor agency to the former Redevelopment Agency Board for Tuesday, April 4th, 2023. This is our regular session. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Betts.
Present.
Councilmember Gardner.
Present.
Councilmember Pai.
Present.
Mayor Pro Tem Nunez.
Present.
Mayor Mattis.
Present. Tonight we have our invocation will be given by Chaplain Mark Rogers, and there he is in the audience. Mark, you might have to press the button on there. It'll turn red, and then it's all yours.
Okay. Lord, we live in a diverse community of many faiths and beliefs, but I believe that we all pray to the same God. We are thankful for the leadership of our city and we pray that they will continue to lead us with wisdom and decisions that benefit every citizen. We ask continued blessing on our police department for keeping us safe with one of the lowest crime rates in the Coachella Valley, and also on our fire department that responds to so many medical emergencies and saves so many lives for our citizens. May the Lord bless us and keep us. May his face shine upon us and be gracious to us, and may he lift up his countenance upon us and give us peace. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Tonight, the Pledge of Allegiance will be led by, who did it last? Did you? Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem Nunez will lead us.
Right hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, we'll move to the city attorney's report on closed session.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. We don't have any reportable action.
Thank you very much. The next item is going to be the approval of the agenda. We're also going to approve the consent calendar. In the consent calendar, if someone is to make a motion, we have corrected minutes on our desk here. It's just the titles of council member and mayor pro tem that were switched. So if we can ask for the correction of those minutes in that motion.
Mr. Mayor, motion to approve the agenda as posted with the correction to the minutes as stated.
Mr. Mayor, I'll second, and I wasn't the one that complained.
Autocorrect.
I think our city clerk found those and corrected those. Is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak on the consent calendar before we vote on the consent calendar? The consent calendar only has the minutes that are going to be corrected. I see nobody coming forth. Please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you very much. Next, we're going to go to public comments. At this time, pursuant to the Brown Act, any person may comment on matters of general interest within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council not listed on the agenda. Under the Brown Act, the City Council shall not take action on or discuss matters raised during public comment portion of the agenda that are not listed on the agenda. Speakers may not yield their time to others without consent of the mayor. All comments are to be directed to the City Council and shall be devoid of any personal attacks. Members of the public are expected to maintain professional, courteous decorum during public comments. If you're here for an agenda item, when that agenda item comes up, you'll speak on that agenda item at that time. But this is public comments on anything that's not on the agenda. With that said, I do have some blue cards. If you didn't fill out a blue card and you do want to speak in public comments, this is just for the non-agendized items. You can come forward. But first, we're going to start with Barbara Valdez.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. It is Valadez, not Valdez.
Valadez?
Yes, thank
Sorry
you.
about that. You're welcome.
I'm here to bring attention to the Mizell Center and DHS. I'm sorry, my name is Barbara Sepulveda Valadez, and I am a DHS new resident. I'm here to bring attention to the Mizell Center in DHS. The door that exits southwest has not been operable for quite some time. I fear this could be a hazard in the moment of an evacuation. The request for repair has been addressed. However, I believe this concern is a time-sensitive case. I am presently trying to work with the director at the center so that we can come up with an evacuation plan because there isn't one in place presently. I'm donating my time. Another subject that comes real crucial for me, when I first moved here, I didn't know, I came from West Covina, California. I didn't know anything about road closures. I was completely devastated because I had to go to Palm Springs and I got stuck over there because Palm was closed. I didn't even know how to get home. So I had to make a couple of phone calls. Good thing I had a blanket in my car because I thought maybe I'm going to sleep in my car. So I'm just curious as to, is anything going to happen in reference to some remedy for that road closure. Again, I'm new, so I don't know how all of this works. I'm sure there isn't an easy fix, and I'm sure that money is probably of the utmost concern. Lastly, code enforcement. I contacted code enforcement regarding a property that a gentleman is working auto mechanics out of his home. I believe he may have been warned, because it looks like what he did was he moved the vehicles across the street to an empty lot. So I'm not sure if that's actually the remedy, but that's pretty much it. I am appreciating DHS and the friendly people and law enforcement and as such. So thank you very much. Thank you.
Well, welcome to Desert Hot Springs, and if staff hasn't talked to you, they'll catch you so they can have some, get in contact with you and answer some of those questions.
Thank you.
Lloyd Queen?
Hello, good evening. Part-time resident for 20 years, love the city. Thank you for the staff for everything you do. 3 items. One is you've done a terrific job on the roads, the paving and the sidewalks, whoever is responsible for all that work on North Palm Drive. It looks just great. My comment there is let's hopefully finish the job. I've asked Public Works multiple times to scrape and paint the bridge on the corner of Palm and Mission Lakes, and now we've got these great sidewalks, beautiful sidewalks headed to that bridge, and it's still in disrepair. So just mentioning it again. One other quick comment about all the fences that are around 8th Street, around the park that's been there for, I don't know, 6-8 months now, looks, not welcoming. And also around the spa that seems to be defunct. So just mentioning, not really attractive, but we've got such a great entrance to the north part of the town, I thought I'd mention it. Secondly, speaking of not welcoming, we may be immune to it, but there are almost, between Palm Drive and Pearson, there are almost 17 now, I've counted these, I call them death markers, that come into the city on either side. Tragedies happen. And then these markers that are left up for years, and I have a property in another city, and another city leaves these markers up a respectful 3 or so weeks, and then they're taken down. We've got markers around the city, especially that graveyard that's now sort of grown up around the corner of Pearson and 62. I don't know if we have any jurisdiction there. Okay, finally, one positive note. So I'm a bike rider. I do the Tour de Palm Springs every year. We have an opportunity here in Desert Hot Springs to, I think, do the same thing. I've biked that 10 miles around Worsley and Indian Canyon and Pearson. That's a 10-mile loop right there. Another 5 miles from there to downtown. We have actually an opportunity to do something similar. Move it to the October Modernism Week, so there's a crowd in town anyway. Just saying, if that's even a possibility, I'm happy to volunteer for any committee that might be interested in something like that. Thank you.
Thank you. Shimon Labor? Hope I got that right.
Thank you for the opportunity to address the council. My name is Shimon Labor, and I'm the founder of a business named Olive Cultivation. We operate a facility here in Desert Hot Springs at the Coachella Business Park. We've been in operation for a little more than a year now, and as I know on the agenda at our meeting today, there's lots of discussion about cannabis and cannabis tax and such, and those are things that affect all of us. But in addition, the ambitious nature of the scale of the Coachella Business Park has presented challenges for all of us at the city, operators, and maybe even the developer himself in terms of trying to figure out how to go from where we are today to something that might work for everyone. We're facing a challenge in that the park had a security service as part of its offering, but that security service is no longer offered by the park, as some on the council may be aware. In order to demonstrate to the city our desire to remedy this problem, we've engaged a security company that begins security service at the park starting tomorrow. This is a large financial burden for my small business to handle on my own, but I'm taking this action with the expectation and hope that I have a chance of convincing other operators in the park to join me in sharing the expense. Well, I know there's no guarantee that will happen. I've committed to taking the risk to put my foot forward and put our dollar forward to try to erect a solution that at least helps move the park forward in a way that benefits the city and the city's businesses and everything we can do in the city. Thank you for the opportunity to tell you about my plans that begin tomorrow. There are some of you here who want to talk about this a little more as we go about doing it. I've made sure to also organize that whatever we're starting tomorrow will have no impact on any other tenants immediately, because we will give everyone right of way. The security is there to protect my facility and my 4,000 square foot facility only until we arrive at a more clear solution forward for the park or whatever thing we'll figure out. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, and I look forward to talking to the proper channels and persons more about what we're trying to accomplish at the first opportunity.
Thank you very much. Is it Delia? Daya and Fimbres? Phew, got part of it right there.
Good evening. My name is Delia Fimbres. I'm one of the co-owners of TGT Security, and I came with Mr. Shalom. We are ready to do security for his business, start as soon as tomorrow, as soon as he gets the okay. Just a little background, we've been in the city about 5 years. We have several contracts with other cannabis facilities, and I just wanted to let you guys know that we are ready to do security, as soon as he gets his okay.
Great, thank you so much. Tom Bowen?
I'm Tom Moen. I'm a 44-year resident of Desert Hot Springs, and I'm married to a fine lady, Dolly. When I was president of the Chamber of Commerce, there was 24 mixers, and she brought her good, famous potato salad to every one of them. And people still ask about that. Our neighbors, Sandy and Walter Carter, passed away a few years ago, and their house was sold to Airbnb couple. And I've heard comments from people saying, well, there's an Airbnb and they don't take their trash out. Well, I live in a good neighborhood because some of the neighbors take the trash out, some of the neighbors put it back. And sometimes it's Dolly or I or us together. It's part of the neighborhood. Can we have a kindness policy for neighbors? And then here's a personal brag. My son Theodore was in the Los Angeles Marathon, and he ran in 6 hours and 18 minutes, averaging 14 minutes per mile. Now he's gone and entered the San Diego Marathon. So I'm a proud dad. Thank you. And another thing, time is ticking. I wanted to mention the first mayor I met here in Desert Hot Springs, Julius Corsini, a very fine man, and he didn't take no for an answer very well. I was at his shop a couple times when the city car came by, and the car and driver took him to CVAG meetings. But he has his name on a school here because the school board said no to a school on Hacienda Avenue here in Desert Hot Springs. And he went to the school board meeting and convinced them himself. And myself, I have been an active participant. I don't have time to say, but I have been on several organizations, city commissions, projects. One of the most important ones I helped with was when Dick Cromwell III was appointed to hold the commission on whether or not Desert Hot Springs should surrender our charter and just be part of the county. And Matt Wyuker wanted me on there. He says, Tom, you're a trusted guy. And so I did that. And time's up here, but I do want to say this. I may work for Miracle Springs Hotel, and I've been a friend of Michael Bickford for 40 years. However, I am not paid by the hotel to come here to the meetings. I come here on my own.
Thank you, Mr. Mellon.
Thank
Your 3
you.
minutes are up. Mr. Johnson, Eddie Johnson, this is my final speaker card. Anyone would like to speak in public comments, not on agenda items? This is the second call.
City council members, city officials, workers, and residents. I'm the Veterans Park caretaker, and we have 4 tiles that are waiting to be engraved, and the park will be done with all the tiles. So it's been a great time to be able to honor the veterans up there at Veterans Park. And like I said, we're waiting for the engraver to be notified to come up and finish the 4 tiles that are left in the park. Also, I dropped off, I do public talks or speaking engagements with the high schools. And I dropped off some paperwork for the city council members if you find time. I know you all work, most of you. And if you find time to come to one of the schools and hear us talk, it'd be really, really nice. We're doing Desert Hot Springs May 12th, and some other schools are doing 7 schools in the Coachella Valley here. So we kind of let them know what Vietnam was like for combat. And I have 3 other guys that talk with me. So. But the main thing was to let you all know the Veterans Park will be full, totally, no empty tiles, and thank you all very much for giving me the time to take care of the park. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Eddie. Anyone else like to speak in public comments? All right, we'll close public comments this time. We'll move to city manager's report.
Good evening, Mayor, City Council. I'm going to start with asking Jeffrey Buckheim, our Administrative Services Director, to provide some financial highlights.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Our financial highlights for the end of March 2023, fiscal year 22-23. The revenues at the end of March were $16.8 million, which was 51% of the budget. Last year at this time, we had $18.1 million at 59% of the budget, but that included a $1.7 million transfer from the ARPA funds. 2 years ago, we had $14.6 million, which was 58% of the budget. For expenditures, we're up to $19.7 million, which is at 59% of the budget. Last year at this time, we had $19.5 million, which was 61% of the budget, and 2 years ago we had $16.2 million, which was 60% of the budget.
Thank you, Jeffrey. Next, I'll ask Nick Haker, our Public Works Director, to provide some Public Works updates.
Thank you. I have a couple updates. Palm Drive North and the changeable message signs. Palm Drive North, they're continuing the striping on 8th Street and Palm. This project's been pushed back because of the weather. As soon as they're done with that, they're going to continue doing the rest of the project. And this picture is what it used to be, and then on the right is the islands with the palm trees and the more visible crosswalks. So you'll start to see more changes as we keep striping. The changeable message signs, this is the location on Palm Drive. The contractor's back out there. They are running conduits. They're doing the footings around the conduits and the poles, and they're going to continue to finish up this project. This one will finish first before they move over to Indian, and that's it.
Thank you, Nick. That concludes my updates.
Thank you very much. We'll move to mayor and council member comments. I think I started there last time, so I'm going to start here this time. Ms. Pye.
Next week, several of us are going to Sacramento. That's Councilmember Betts and Mayor Pro Tem Nunez. My main purpose is to talk about homeless and also to talk about marijuana. And that's it.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Pretty busy from last week. It was an honor to sit as principal for the day at Desert Springs Middle School, where I got the chance to meet with the students there. And I want to thank Mrs. Drummond for allowing me to participate in that capacity. Very exciting. We did sit down and talk about some of the issues that we've been having at the school, and one of them was, of course, the homeless. They've been jumping the fence and running through the school during school hours, so that was a big concern for her, and having security trying to chase some of these people out. So I told her that we would get with her to see what we can do to help mitigate the problem. Another one was some of the students, since COVID hit, a lot of the students are still using homeschooling for their education. This is impacting the school because when they get back to the school, they don't want to stay in school. They rather get up and just take off. So there's been a lot of ditching at the school. So I'm seeing what we can do to help meet with the parents or whatever she needs. I told her to give me a call, then maybe we can sit down and here at the council's chambers to see what we can do with the school district and the city and be proactive in helping these families with the schooling. Other than that, last week I attended the Planning Commissioners Academy, Mr. Mayor. I can honestly say I needed to brush up on my zoning and some of the planning skills that they offer there. So it was a good opportunity for me to sit down with the new planning commissioners to see how they feel. If they needed anything as far as guidance, I was more than happy to answer any questions. We got to meet a lot of planning commissioners that are new from other cities in the Coachella Valley. One thing that we got kudos for is that we had a city council member there with the planning commissioners. So a lot of the other cities were kind of saying, this is a good opportunity for council to mingle with the planning commissioners, and that way they can bounce off each other. So I think it was a great opportunity. I would highly encourage my fellow council members to attend one of these academies with our planning commissioners. That way you can sit down and talk to them about strategizing how we want to shape the city when it comes to that point. Other than that, Mr. Mayor, that is it. I am done.
Thank you. Councilmember Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So, go Scorpions. I had that same honor a couple of years ago. It was a very fun experience to be principal of the day. Had a chance to attend the Senior Inspiration Awards lunch, and I'm not going to steal the mayor's thunder because he's got a whole big speech written out to honor the person who we honored there. But it was a very wonderful dinner, as it always is. I had a chance to sit and talk with a very sweet woman who got the award, and another example of what makes DHS such a great place. I was very honored to be asked to be the keynote lunch speaker at the California Trails and Greenways Conference in Palm Springs. Over 800 attendees from all over the state to talk about building and creating hiking trails, conserving land, and enhancing outdoor recreation. And our own Roberta Cernick, who's not here tonight, unfortunately, was also a speaker doing a breakout session talking about our Agents of Discovery app, which got a great reviews. And if you haven't downloaded that app, it's pretty cool. It's a great way to learn a little bit about the city and have some fun exploring the trails. And lastly, we had a Visit Greater Palm Springs Convention and Visitors Bureau board meeting. Very interesting and informative presentation from a very noted economist who said that despite the gloom and doom on TV news concerning the economy, the actual economic indicators and data show that the U.S. is far from heading into a recession, which makes me feel good when I look at my IRA from my stockbroker. But and the moderate inflation that we have will be around, he says, for at least a year, mostly caused by government stimulus during the pandemic, which put a lot of cash into the economy, and the statistics show people are hoarding and not spending. But when they do spend it, they're spending it to travel, and they're traveling here. All of our hotels are sitting at 90% more occupancy. Our STVRs are all booked out. All over the valley, I know we've all noticed the traffic and the increased number of people out there, and it's just starting because we've got the Coachella Festival starting up pretty quick here. So travel overall is way up, and despite our miserable weather that we've had this winter, it shows. Our TOT is up, and like I said, all of the hotels are showing full. So let's hope that that economist's predictions are coming true. That's all I've got.
Thank you, Mr. Betts.
Yeah, thank you. Had the occasion to go down to our local Quick Quack car wash in hope of getting my car washed, but for some reason it's been broken down for a few days. And then I looked next to the Quick Quack car wash and I saw something else very broken down, and that was the Dollar General parking lot landscaping. Everything about it is just, decrepit is not too harsh of a word. I've been trying to call Dollar General Corporate in Goodlettsville, Tennessee for a couple of years now, talking to somebody named Stacy. And then they've got a company in Salt Lake City, Utah, a woman there named Ruth, who's supposed to be in charge of maintenance. And if you go and you look, there's just dead palm trees, and then they replaced them, and there's more dead palm trees. There's not a bit of the original landscaping in place that should be, and it is just not what our city is supposed to look like. It's absolute embarrassment. And so I've had some meetings with staff, and I'm convinced that they are working on this and contacting Dollar General and letting them know that, you know, we're happy to have you here as a friend and a neighbor, but you can't act like that. And I'm not exaggerating the situation. It's just horrible. So I hope staff will come back to us with something at the next meeting and get us an update on that. Is that possible?
I might be able to do something in general city manager update, but if it's not agendized, I wouldn't be able to bring it back as a formal item.
Okay, something needs to happen. I can't wait any longer. It's been 2 years that this thing's been in horrible condition, and they're just not responsive. So I don't want to dwell too much on it, but if you go take a look at it, you'll see what I'm talking about. On other news, I sit on the Sunline Transit Agency board, and we're continuing the process of seeking out and hiring a new general manager. The previous general manager, Lauren Skyver, moved on to greener pastures in the private sector. Route 2 continues at 20-minute peak and 40-minute off-peak routes. Route 2 is the main route into Desert Hot Springs, but there's a change in the frequency on the weekend routes, and that's going from 20 minutes to 30 minutes. They're still having trouble getting operators. It's like everybody else, trying to get enough people to keep your fast food restaurant open or get your bus line staffed. I don't know what it is going on, but anyhow, so that's the only change. But the good news on that is there's going to be one extra northbound route coming into the city. People have complained for a long time that, geez, I get off work and I've just missed the bus and I can't get home. So they've heard enough of that, and from me and otherwise, and they're going to go ahead and add now another northbound route 7 days a week. So that's good news. Attended the Little League opening day. It's really nice to watch the kids and remember when you were a kid doing the same thing, and just a really good event. Thanks to city staff and everything. Looks like that's well in hand. I know we have quite a few city staff members that are on the board, and a lot of citizens volunteering to make that happen. It's a lot of effort. Good job. Met again with the Desert Edge Community Council members. Brought them in. I took a tour of City Hall and then discussed some other issues. They like Desert Hot Springs now, which is nice. Attended the Senior Inspiration Awards. Congratulations to Teresa Sanchez Valencia, our city honoree, and I'm going to take Gary Gardner's cue and say Mayor's probably got more on that, so I'll leave it at that. I joined the mayor at CVAG Transportation. I'm the alternate. I had a couple issues there I wanted to discuss, and I just wanted to say, first time the mayor doesn't miss those meetings. When you serve as an alternate, once in a while somebody will miss a meeting, and once in a while you'll get to attend. I just went down there for the heck of it, and it's obvious he's doing a good job down there. You can tell when you watch somebody in an environment where they're comfortable in the work they're doing, and he's done good work for us, getting that agency moving in our direction. So, Mr. Mayor, it was fun to watch you doing your work there. This week I'm going to travel to attend the meeting at Southern California Association of Governments, and the final item I got is vacation rental enforcement. By my assessment, doesn't appear to be working. We're getting a lot of complaints coming in. I don't know why I'm getting them all, but I am. And if we could ask staff during Coachella, Stagecoach, and whatever other, what is it now, Power Trip or whatever it is, these other events that are coming up, if we could ask staff to double up on the code response or whatever it is that we need to do to get these vacation rental complaints taken care of, that'd be good. Mr. Mayor, that's all I have.
Thank you very much. I know we got a lot on the agenda, or we got an item on the agenda that a lot of people are here for, so I'll try to be short tonight. The Desert Hot Springs High School had a cleanup, so we've put this cleanup committee together with Mayor Pro Tem and myself, and we've been educating high schools in the community, or schools in the community, and this month was the high school's turn. So we have Desert Valley Disposal goes out, they give education on how the new organic waste laws are, and they talk about recycling and trash, and then we do a cleanup in and around that school so we can bring awareness in hopes that the kids will go home and teach their parents how to recycle and throw away their trash correctly. The programs, we're now in our third school. We'll have our fourth school before the end of the year done, and then we'll finish up with the other schools after the school season starts later this year. So I want to thank everybody participating. Desert Hot Springs High had the most students involved with the ROTC program. The principal surprised all the Saturday school kids with, hey, you're going to clean up, but if you do this, we'll let you go home early today. And there was a couple other groups that showed up, and then we have this nonprofit group that reaches out to the Marine Corps base, and they're able to do community service hours, and they brought, God, it had been 20 of them that showed up to help clean up our community, so it was really fun to see. Desert Hot Springs Little League had their opening day. I had a Zoom meeting with our county supervisor. Staff and I meet with the county supervisor quarterly to talk about issues that we're facing, and we're working with them on some of the outlying areas of Desert Hot Springs that seem to be continued problems. We also had a Zoom meeting with our newly appointed senator, which is Kelly Serranto. Was that right? And he actually, if a lot of you know that our last senator had termed out, and so the current districts are being reformed, and the new senator for District 19 will be elected in the 2024 election. But in the meantime, two senators are splitting the district up, and Senator Ciantro, something like that. He is out of Marietta, and he is taking on the southern part of that district, which is mostly the Coachella Valley. So we had some time to meet with him. He wants to come out, take a tour of the community, wanted to talk about the things that we were facing, is very supportive of our community and the things that we're doing. So that was great to hear. As Councilmember Betts had stated, the Coachella Valley Association of Governments Transportation Committee met on Monday. I am the appointee for that. They had a call for projects for SB 821. If a lot of those sidewalks, safe to school routes that you've seen throughout the city designed and built over the last 10 years are on the grant funding from SB 821. And so there's a call for projects on that, and our staff is working to put in some of the paperwork for those. The expansion of commuter services, I'm starting here because I can't read my own writing. Commuter services, so there's a service patrol. Riverside County Transportation Commission gave an update on service patrol assistance, and this is a program in the Western Valley for the most part. So if you're in Riverside, Corona, Southwest District like Temecula or Marietta, if your car breaks down, there's actually services in the peak hours where a tow truck is just roaming, and they'll pull over and tow you whatever services are needed to get you out of the roadway. And we've talked a lot about bringing that out to the Coachella Valley for certain peak times, such as the holiday traffic or the festival traffics, and when our freeways are backed up because of the Highway 60 and Interstate 10 split in the pass area, and it backs up traffic all the way into the Coachella Valley. And then we have some areas such as the Monterey to Cook Street area where the traffic pinches because it goes down to 3 lanes. So they've been studying that, and it hasn't warranted yet the funding for those services, but we've asked them to maybe take the scope of services and bring it down as they start to get rid of call boxes throughout the county. We've already had one round of getting rid of call boxes over the last few years, and they find other call boxes that aren't used as much. That funding could go to something else, and that was a suggestion by somebody at that time. And then there was a real reason that Mr. Betts came down there was because he was actually nominated to be the representative for the Southern California Association of Governments Transportation Committee, and that was overwhelmingly supported. Again, the recommendation will go to the executive committee, which I sit on, and I don't foresee anything happening from that point on. So you should be the appointee moving on. And then finally, as alluded to by two of the council members, most of us were able to attend the Senior Inspiration Award. And as mayor, I'm one of 5 council members. I'm 1/5 of the decision making, but there's a few things that I get to do in the counties of Riverside, County District 4, which is County Riverside Supervisional District, Manuel Perez. He has continued the Senior Inspiration Awards, which were started here by Corky Larson many years ago. And he is the fourth supervisor to continue this program. And basically what it is, each city is allotted one nominee to be a senior inspiration in their community. There's some qualifications of age that you have to meet, and then you have to live within that community, and then the county has two. In ours this year, I was able to nominate Teresa Valencia Sanchez from St. Elizabeth's of Hungary Food Pantry. And the reason I nominated her this year was, I'm going to read her bio, it's not very, or her story, it's not very long here. Teresa is 70 years old and was born in Mexico City, Mexico, and was raised in Los Angeles, California. Teresa moved from Los Angeles to the Coachella Valley 40 years ago with her family. She had a career as a hairdresser. And now in retirement, Teresa enjoys her volunteer work with her church, St. Elizabeth's of Hungary Catholic Church in Desert Hot Springs. Through its social concerns committee, St. Elizabeth's has a food pantry and outreach program that has provided groceries, clothing, and referral assistance for about 40 years to those in need at St. Elizabeth's. Teresa serves as the food director. The St. Elizabeth's Food Pantry helps 250 to 300 individuals on a weekly basis. Teresa enjoys helping people not only with food, but with other life issues as well. Teresa is a 3-time cancer survivor. She credits her faith to her survival. She seeks to find the beauty in everybody, and to bring hope by helping people in need. The biggest impact of Teresa's life has been the influence of her brother Reuben, and Teresa is blessed with 5 children, 4 girls, 1 boy, and 12 grandkids. And you look around the community and you're always trying to find an inspiration. And she came into my office late last year with a need, and she doesn't really come to my office very often unless it's really important. And we were able to help point her in the right direction. And so it just all of a sudden a light bulb went off in my head. This is someone that fits this inspiration to me. So I nominated her, and she was awarded that last Thursday. So congratulate her if you see her in our community. And if you haven't seen her in our community, you can drive by St. Elizabeth's, I believe, any Thursday and see her out there helping people each and every day, and is a true inspiration. All right, let's get to some city business here. Is anyone here for the public hearing amendments to the housing element? All right, I'm going to skip that and come back to it because I think there's a few people in the audience for item number 8, which is the administrative calendar, proposed temporary reduction in cannabis cultivation tax. Is anybody here for that? Yeah, I figured that. So, all right, we're going to work on that. So our staff report is going to be given by Sean Smith, our Economic Development Director.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Good evening. When Desert Hot Springs initially embraced legal cannabis, it was met with strong demand for related development. Since then, the industry has experienced significant slowdown and has fallen well behind early growth projections. The industry as a whole is experiencing substantial financial strain, and staff has heard from several of our Desert Hot Springs operators that they are now at a critical point of considering possible closure should the current market conditions persist. In light of these circumstances, staff is requesting council consideration for a temporary reduction in the cannabis cultivation tax and direction to conduct a comprehensive analysis of the Desert Hot Springs cannabis market, the findings of which would be presented to council along with any recommendations once complete. Staff is recommending either a 25% or 50% temporary reduction for the current tax period of January 1st, 2023 through June 30th, 2023. As you can see on the screen, a 25% reduction would equate to a loss of revenue to the city of a little over $583,000. This would equate to a per square foot rate drop from the current rate of $10.20 a square foot to $7.65 a square foot. A 50% reduction would result in a loss to the city of a little over $1.1 million and reduce the $10.20 a square foot rate down to $5.10. In either of these scenarios, the Cannabis Reserve, the Cannabis Emergency Reserve, would be well equipped to backfill that loss at the current balance of over $5 million. And that concludes my presentation. I'm happy to answer any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And before we get to the council member comments, I do want to make note that we received multiple emails today. They were printed. If council did not have time to read them on email, they were placed at the dais here so that the council could read those. So any individuals that weren't able to make it I just wanted to acknowledge that we did receive those. Before we get into public comments on this, I do want to, I know we have a lot of people in the audience. This is an administrative item. There will be a timer of 3 minutes. We hope that you can make your comments under the 3 minutes, and then be aware that others want to speak on this item too. So when it gets close to that 3 minutes, please wrap them up as quickly as possible if you need to take up all 3 minutes. Before we start that, is there any direct questions to staff, not comments on the item itself, just direct questions that staff can answer, and then we'll get into public comments. Gary, and then Russ.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Sean, what is the timeline to complete that analysis?
So we would start the analysis immediately, and over the course of the next couple months, would hope within that time frame to be able to have something to present back to council.
And, but just a ballpark of what's bringing that back to council?
I'm hoping to bring it back to council, the meeting in July before we go dark.
Okay, so because this would be a temporary reduction for taxes that are due from January 1 to June 30th of this year.
Correct.
That are payable on July 1, right? And then we would be doing the analysis and reviewing that in July to make a decision moving forward for the second half of the tax year, going from July 1 to December 31, correct?
Correct.
All right, thank you.
Mr. Betts?
Yeah, just quickly, I want to note in the staff report that I believe we weren't just one of the first cities to legalize marijuana for cultivation and recreational, that we were the first city to do that. So if we can make sure that gets corrected in the record going forward. I'm looking at the staff report. It says the current cannabis cultivation rate is $10.20 per square foot. And I remember when we voted on this, or when the voters put it into place, it was $10 a square foot. Where did the 20 cents come from?
It's the CPI increase.
And the CPI only went up in that many years, it only went up 20 cents?
No, it was not applied for a couple of years. So that was one of the first CPI increases. And then due to COVID, we did not apply the CPI.
Okay, did that ever come to council to not apply it?
No, it did not.
Okay, I think it should. I think that's a point that we need to keep track of. And then the current balance of $5 million that we're calling a cannabis emergency reserve, it's actually in general fund. It's not specifically earmarked for cannabis, correct? We could, that was just a reserve that was funded by cannabis.
Right, so that is a reserve funded by 25% of the cannabis tax revenue. It is, technically it's in a separate fund, but due to accounting regulations, we have to report it as part of the general fund, but we do keep it in a separate fund.
Okay, but it's like we have different pots of money. Sometimes we can only spend money on parks. Sometimes we can only spend money on police. This isn't one of those pots. This is readily available for us to spend as a council could decide to do.
This is yes, it is. It's somewhat readily available. So it's readily available to spend and for emergency reserves as designated by the council.
Great. Yeah, I think that's what I just said. Okay, good.
Hold on.
All right.
Hold on. No, he's not done, and I got to go over here first, and I'll come back to you, Gary.
Okay, so that would be just, my questions. Thanks. I'm done.
Any questions over here of staff before we move on? All right, go ahead.
Real quick, Jeffrey, is that, if I recall it, doesn't that require a council supermajority to tap into that emergency reserve? A 4/5 vote?
That I don't know.
That's a good question.
I think that's.
Does not? Okay, thank you.
All right, so again, we're going to move to public comments before we get into debate on this item. We want to hear from you. If you want to come forward, and the next person that wants to speak after the person coming forward, if you can move up to one of the front seats so you're ready to go. You can just state your name, and your 3 minutes will start again, and it'll be up on the screen, and please just follow that time. Whomever wants to go first, who wants to be the first? There we go. All right, go ahead, push the button there, and you're all set. Press it, and you'll turn red. There you go. Perfect.
I did get lucky to see the handing of the city key. That was really nice for the chief. Okay, allow me to say thank you to the board for taking time for everybody and hearing our voices from the local businesses.
Can you state your name real quick?
Yes, my name is Ali Raslam, and I'm here on behalf of New Green Acres.
Thank you.
And if anything, if it's due to policy or if anything more, to use this as a soundboard for making your decision as we move forward. I'm here, as I mentioned, representing New Green Acres as their CFO, and I want to express my thoughts on the temporary reduction in the cannabis tax. However, to express the tax reduction and how it affects just us, it doesn't. It affects the community as well, because I'm a firm believer of rising tides rise all. So New Green Acres currently employs over 50 families. With these families comes a growing community within Desert Hot Springs. The current market conditions have been placed or either been subject to closure or close to it, as alluded earlier. It's very, very difficult out there. It's not what it was. It's very, it's a harsher condition. So I can say confidently that on behalf of New Green Acres, it is getting harder and harder to leave our doors open, which is gonna, at the facility. Meanwhile, while trying to build and help build a sustainable environment for all local employees and their local communities for the long haul. We're in it for the long haul. We all invested a lot of energy, a lot of time, a lot of commitment, and we're here for the long haul. Okay, so it's getting harder and harder to pay the inflated tax proposal. I think initially when all this started, everybody across the board went for an ideation under what they felt was a cannabis-related tax, either if you were renting a place for your facility or opening up. The whole ideation of a cannabis tax is just, it's gone outrageous. And I feel like we could just hone in and come back to regular tax. Whatever happened to regular business tax and getting charged the regular taxing economy bracket? Because this whole cannabis ideation tax that's occurred and occurring is suffocating the legal cannabis industry. That's all I have to say.
Thank you very much for your comments tonight. Who's next? Just state your name, Abe, and
Thank you. My name is Abe Robin. I'm actually the owner of IVTHC, the dispensary here in town. Thank you, Mayor and City Council members, for taking the time right now to listen to me real quick. I praise the city a lot, especially for even considering a tax reduction to the cultivators. I have great relationships with a lot of the cultivators. Eventually, as you guys know, pretty simple system. From after it gets the cultivation is done, it ends up at our retail storefront. So with that being said, I just want to let everyone know, originally, part of the reasons that the tax was created because a lot of the city felt like we were going to be some type of potentially a nuisance. More policing was going to be needed for the cultivation, for the cultivators, for the dispensaries. That is not the case, and I believe lowering the tax for cultivation and hopefully eventually the retail storefronts will actually be a big benefit to the city. If you guys know, you're number one, like Councilman Betts said, to legalize marijuana before recreational use, and now we're having other cities realize what's happening. Our businesses are struggling, and we need help. And so with that being said, I'm praising the city, and I hope you guys really look into lowering the tax for cultivation and eventually for the storefronts. This will help in multiple facets of our business, including keeping business away from the black market. A lot of business still goes to the black market now, and the reason a lot of it goes to the black market now is because they don't pay taxes. You know, so we're obviously not here to say we don't want to pay any taxes, but lowering them would greatly help all businesses here in the city. Thank you so much.
Thanks, sir. Who's next?
Hi, good evening. Do I need to press a button to start?
Nope, you're good to go. Just state your name.
Great. My name is Scott Russick. I am the chair of the legislative subcommittee for the Coachella Valley Cannabis Alliance Network. Good evening to all of you, DHS team. As most of you know, CVCAN is a nonprofit membership organization that seeks to provide a reasonable and productive voice for the cannabis industry throughout the Coachella Valley. It's our goal to create cohesion and best practices for our members, thus improving the industry. CVCAN is certainly pleased that DHS is considering a temporary reduction in the cannabis cultivation tax rate for the current tax period through June 30. We believe this is a step in the right direction. However, rather than reducing the tax by 25 or 50% as considered in the staff report, we strongly believe the cultivation tax should be temporarily suspended in full. No other agricultural food faces a cultivation tax similar to the one imposed on marijuana. Indeed, as noted in the staff report, the state suspended cultivation taxes for all of 2022. Eliminating the cultivation tax would allow farmers and licensed cannabis retailers to lower prices, making the legal marijuana market more competitive with illicit markets. Further, such action would increase the sale of legal cannabis products as a result of lower prices, which would then increase the city's general sales tax revenue and more than replace the losses from the eliminated cultivation tax. Eliminating the cannabis cultivation tax would help growers, retailers, consumers, and ultimately the city of Desert Hot Springs. With respect to the calculations in the staff report concerning potential loss of revenue, we respectfully believe that such projected losses are somewhat misleading, as there is no consideration given to the increase in tax receipts that will come as a result of the eradication of the cultivation tax. As pointed out in the staff report, the city has a $5 million emergency cannabis reserve, which is a significant cushion, affording the city the time to make course corrections that ultimately will help DHS remain the epicenter of cannabis cultivation in Southern California. Having said this, we believe the council's consideration of at least temporarily reducing the cultivation tax is a strong step in the right direction for several reasons. It will keep DHS competitive with other Coachella Valley communities, such as Palm Desert and Cat City, who have just reduced taxes. It shows that the city hears its constituents and is indeed supporting the industry. It will have an impact on the black market activity. Finally, it reflects a thoughtful handling of the implementation of local cannabis taxes. It is respectfully submitted that taxation should be considered as a separate and distinct area of concern, balancing the viability of cannabis businesses with the city's desire to collect tax revenue. In short, CVCAN is supportive of the council's considerations, and I thank you for your time and attention. We are and always remain available for assistance as you may need. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. If we can just ask that you not clap during the items, so if anybody is, I know there's nobody opposed to this item out there, they wouldn't feel uncomfortable, but we used to have a lady that stood here and she would wave her fingers like this, I meant she was clapping, so. Go ahead.
May I approach?
You may.
Okay. My name is Ethan Woods. I'm the CEO of the Zenco companies. We have multiple of them. When I was in college, I was taught to say less and better. So, I want to drive a couple of points home here. I used to have 150 employees that I employed in Desert Hot Springs. Right now it's 88. It may be fewer sooner, maybe down to 55, maybe down to 50. And that's because the overall economic outlook of the cannabis industry has gone to crap, honestly. So I echo everything that everybody said prior to me, so I'm not going to repeat any points. But I would take a bit of a different spin on that because I'm in a fairly unique situation right now, owning such a large facility or facilities with lots of employees. I need to pivot right now. We used to be a cultivator, and that's all we did. And I'm not saying that it's the city's job to make internal decisions for the company, but I need to, as a CEO, make sure that I come up with a way for our investors to make money and to continue to put money into what we're doing here, into the employees, into the training, and into this city, right? Which has an economic impact on everything that's done here, right? So in order for me to keep doing that, I need to take our business and I need to pivot it into somewhere where I can actually make margin, which is in manufacturing, which is in distribution and other areas. That takes time. It takes a lot of effort to raise that capital, and it is my job to do that without vacation and sometimes without compensation to get that done. And the point that I'd like to drive home here is that in order for that to happen, there needs to be temporary relief, there needs to be permanent relief, and if I'm experiencing that right now, I know that every other person, every other leader that's going to come to this town and that's going to attempt to build a business or to have a business flourish is going to go through the same exact thing. And if this town doesn't listen to making a better economic outlook for businesses, for leaders, then it won't see the same sort of business outlook that it sought to create years ago. So I would urge everybody here to listen to what's being said right now and to actually take action on it and to get things done quickly. And I appreciate everybody's time.
Thanks, Ethan. Hey, Paula.
Hello, everyone. My name is Paula Turner with Desert Pacific Properties. I'm the treasurer of CBCAN and was on the Desert Hot Springs Cannabis Task Force in 2021. I am in support of the staff's recommendation to consider a temporary reduction in the cultivation tax rate. In 2021, when Desert Hot Springs reduced the tax to $10.20 a square foot, the cultivators were selling their cannabis for $1,800 to $2,000 a pound. Now that price per pound is $800 to $1,200, which is the current cost of producing it. The cannabis market has taken a huge hit over the last 2 years. Before 2021, there was a bidding war over buildings under construction. Now we have vacant buildings at half the cost to lease them, just sitting there on the market. The cannabis businesses operating in Desert Hot Springs are struggling and just trying to survive this downturn. I am certainly not against taxes. On the contrary, I want Desert Hot Springs to thrive as a community, and I want the cannabis industry to thrive in Desert Hot Springs. However, in order for that to happen, Desert Hot Springs needs to be competitive and fair with their tax rate and structure. I sincerely urging the City Council to seriously consider, at a minimum, a 50% temporary tax reduction for cultivation to $5.10 per square foot in order to give staff more time to complete a comprehensive assessment of the cannabis tax market. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Snyder.
Good evening, council members and staff. My name is David Snyder. I am a real estate developer and have developed the Morongo Business Park over at 13310 Little Morongo Road. I want to commend the city for considering the reduction in taxes. I think it's absolutely necessary. And my experience in talking with a number of the CEOs in town is that they are really at a threshold point here where many of them will not make it. I think this is a move by the city that will give them a chance to make it. I think to look at this as a loss of revenue is really probably not really the best way to look at it. I think it's a way to try to save the revenue that the city has become accustomed to, or partially become accustomed to. I think if the city does not do something quite drastic and do it quite quickly, that more businesses will be forced to leave the city because of the tax. You know, Desert Hot Springs was very, very out front and was bold, and you know, they say fortune favors the bold, and the city has done well, and your leadership has allowed these businesses to move in here and invest a lot of money, and doing this and considering this, I think, will give these businesses a chance to survive. And so I commend you for your leadership in doing it, and I hope that you're able to take the information that these people have given you and take it to heart in your decision making. That's thanks very much, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I'm Tom Moen. I'm a 44-year resident of Desert Hot Springs. I remember when all this production of growing cannabis here in this city, I believe it was the growers who offered the amount of the tax and had calculated it in. However, I'm not sure on that, but I do know this, that I think it would be fair to reduce the tax temporarily. I certainly do support that, and I go one step further, that rather than quarter of the tax collected going into reserve, I think half of it should go into reserve, because things are going to change down the road. I remember the old days in Desert Hot Springs. We should have some kind of a cushion that will provide funds to the city off of interest, where we can have a nice fund set aside, like many other cities in the Coachella Valley have funds set aside for a rainy day. We don't have many rainy days here, but I would advise upping the amount of reserve and see how much we can wean the city off of dependence on this tax and take a practical route. Thank you.
Anyone else? Second call. Final call. All right, we're going to close public comments at this time. We're going to move to council debate and questions, and I'm going to start down here, Ms. Pye.
One, we need to all work together, and some of you don't realize how we started this. We had $425 in our general fund, and we had to figure out what we were going to do for the citizens to survive. I talked to the mayor and said, we need to do something. And that's how cannabis started. The 25%, you talked about 0.5%, the 25% was so that we could have funds for the citizens and would not go back to $425. And that is why Buckheimer is looking at it being part of the public fund. But it's with restrictions so that councils before us don't go start spending it on anything. The black market is a reason, and that's one reason why I'm going up to Sacramento. And the person legislator that talked about this, I wish you would go up to Sacramento too. I've talked to the DA, and fentanyl is being put in marijuana now. And the best that he can do, if someone kills someone, he can put the death penalty on them. But because of laws, he can't do anything else. Sacramento put a tax on cannabis. Put a tax on cannabis before you told weed maps that they shouldn't be doing anything on weed map that is illegal. And the cannabis in Sacramento didn't think about it when we first started. This is not temporary. Whatever we come up with, this is not temporary. We're trying to work with you. We need you to work with us also. It's only temporary for this time because we recognize that you're not doing well. We recognize that. But on the other end, staff is going to do a comprehensive analysis to find out exactly where we should be. When we started marijuana, this was not a nuisance. And that wasn't the reason for the taxes. We were all new in it. It wasn't the $5 cannabis anymore. This was brand new. And there were benefits that people recognized. My grandmother was able to keep her eyes because of what cannabis does for her. So that was the main reason, and it wasn't just because we had the 425. I understand the benefits. And so it wasn't about tax. It wasn't about a nuisance. But we had to do on our side how to prevent illegal marijuana from coming in. The $5 million I've already talked about, but that's why it's in the general fund. And it is to keep us for providing. You do jobs, we need to keep them. So I just wanted to explain why we did what we did, why we're doing what we're doing. And for me, we're not going into a motion right now because the rest of the council has to talk. But I'll tell you, I'm looking for 25% for the period that is approved by staff. And then let us go into a serious analysis. And you may get more than what you're getting now. I'm done.
Thank you. Mayor Pro Tem.
I am not going to follow that, Mr. Mayor, so I'll sit on my comments until the end.
Mr. Gardner.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I really appreciate all of our cannabis operators providing input and coming here today. I would like to make this permanent, and I think I'll follow what Councilmember Pai said, and we will make this permanent. At some point, we need to figure out exactly where, though, on this. I am concerned about a race to the bottom. We cut ours, somebody else cuts theirs, somebody else cuts theirs, the next thing you know, we're down to zero, and then everybody is suffering with that. So I don't want to go down that road. And being the leader that we have been in the industry, I think we can still continue to do that. But we do need to give some relief. I'm hoping during our comprehensive look at cannabis structure, we really almost need to deconstruct it and build it from the ground up. Because when we started this, before I was on the council, when you all started this that were up here, you didn't know, you started from scratch. So we were all just pulling things out of air, and it has to do with security, the amount of security, all of those things, because nobody knew where you're going, and you're driving, you're building the road for the first time. So we think we need this much security, so let's put that much in. Maybe we find out we don't need that much. There's a lot of things we can do in addition to cutting the cultivation tax that will help our cultivators reduce their costs. I quite frankly don't think we need as much security as we're requiring right now. I think there are things we can do in addition to just, lowering the tax. Cannabis is a unique crop in that I cannot think of another crop, if we're thinking about this from an agricultural perspective, I can't think of another crop that we base it on the size of the field. A wheat farmer doesn't pay a tax based on how many acres he has. He pays a tax based on his yield. So maybe as we're going through this process, let's take a look at changing away from square footage and going to a yield-based tax that would be more fair and equitable to our cultivators and still provide the city with revenue that we need. If we're not going to go to a yield-based kind of formula, let's look at other things. Right now, we're taxing hallways and bathrooms and all kinds of other square footage things. I've gone into those cultivation rooms, and sometimes only half of them are being used, yet they're paying a tax on the full size of that room. We need to be looking at maybe taxing, if we're going to stick with a square foot model, going to just a canopy or table size, because if we're taxing the empty hallways that are around the tables, that's not helping you guys at all. So there's some things that we can do, and I'm glad that we're going to do this. And the reason I was pressing Mr. Smith for what the timeline would be is because we're reducing this tax for the first half of the year. You guys are going to have to pay another half tax of the year at the end of the year. I want this in place so that you know what you're doing by the time December 31st rolls around. And I'm glad to see that we're going to go there. So I would like to see us try to get to something, and even starting from scratch. Like I said, let's maybe look at something beyond square footage as a way of taxing this. I would probably let you know I'm going to lean along with what Councilmember Pai said, to go with a quarter reduction at this time. I would hate to go to a bigger reduction and then come back and realize, it's going to be more than that, so we're going to put you back up. This is just temporary for now, but I think you can be assured that this council will take some permanent action before that tax payment is due for the second half of the year. That's all I've got.
Spitz.
I forget what it was exactly. The oil boom in Texas was it the late 80s, early 90s, and it was a great time down there. And then I remember the quote was, just please bring back an oil boom. We promise not to fritter it away this time. That's basically where we're at right now. We had a booming industry that's not there anymore. And you can talk about all the money you want to get at City Hall. but it's not there. You just heard from a whole bunch of people step up to the microphone saying, hey guys, it's tough right now. Somebody's already gone from 80 or from 150 employees down to 88. Now, I don't know if there was no tax, if that wouldn't be occurring, because I understand there's other factors going on in the market. But we're a drain. You know, it's just $10 a square foot is just outrageous. I remember we were in the room, and I'll let the recollections of how this got started. I won't get into that, but I do remember we were contemplating $25 a square foot. We thought, oh God, we're going to make a lot of money here. And there were cultivators out in the audience going, I think that's a little steep, and so it settled in on the $25 for the first 3,000, and then 10 after that, and then eventually we got rid of the 25 because obviously that was outrageous. There's no other solution here than to say City Hall's got to quit being a drain on this industry, and it's got to reduce this tax amount, and it can't be temporary, and it can't be permanent. And the floor on this one right now for this, you got to go to, it's not the 25 cent isn't going to cut it. You need to go to the full $5 or more. But, you know, we've got a CPI adjustment that's supposed to be applied, and that wasn't supposed to be at staff discretion. That was supposed to be just automatically increasing. I don't know why that didn't come back to this council, but it wouldn't be 10.20 right now, it'd probably be 11.50 or 12. So I think staff's recognized that, hey, you know what, that wasn't going to fly, and so they didn't apply it. I would like to see something at this meeting that says if you're already doing business in City Hall and you want to expand your footprint, as hard as that might be for people to imagine, in these economic conditions, is that your footprint will be expanded at no extra tax. So if you, instead of locating your business in another city, locate it here, and you can expand your footprint at no extra tax. I agree with Councilmember Gardner that we shouldn't be charging on areas that don't have to do with the grow area. What is it, section 3.33.030 space. It's got taxable for hallways, workrooms, outside grow area, or outside areas that are not related to growing. Space used for storage of products and supplies. That's not the grow area that should be envisioned. That's taking a bunch of non-productive area and applying it to the grow. That's a very specific area. You know, I just draw on the experience that I had in my career before. We didn't make marijuana. We made chafing dish fuel. It's a can of fuel, and we were the first one out in the industry. We invented a new mousetrap, and we had a very good run at that. And we were selling it at about $28 a case, and this cost us about $20 to produce. And they're having a great time, but somebody said, you know what, you better be ready to adjust because there's going to be competition coming along. And sure enough, it did. And our decision was, do we hold the price up and keep grabbing a large slice of a smaller pie, or do we try and remain competitive and take on this? So we ended up holding on to about 60% of the market, but the prices eventually went from $28 down to, I think it was $15.50, and we figured out the cheapest that we could produce a case of product was $9.50 or $9, depending on how commodities were pricing at the time. Well, the decision here is pretty much the same for this council. You can think you want to hang on to this extra money coming in. It's not your option. Your option is hang on to what you got, and it's going to continue to diminish, and businesses in Desert Hot Springs will be hurt. And the real crime in all that is that the most important thing that these business operators are providing is jobs to our residents. That's what counts here the most. And when you see the street full of people down there, some of the operators, the manufacturing places with zero tax, booming. Every one of those residents are going, wow, great, I got a job here. This is wonderful. It's great for City Hall to take in money, but what really counts these people is having a job. And come Christmas time, they're going to be glad they do. I don't want to too much longer here, but I'm sensing that where I would go with this is much different than the way the council's going to go, but I would ask the council to not make this temporary, but make it an immediate reduction to $5 a square foot. and have that only contained in the space that's considered the canopy grow area. And then I don't know why we're leaving out retail dispensaries. We had cities in the Coachella Valley already lowered their tax, and they'll wrap this up quickly here. The tax on dispensaries should be the same 7.75% it is on any other retail business in town. Right now, we're putting an extra 10% on top. They're already paying 7.75%, and then we're putting an extra 10% on top. The other cities in the Coachella Valley got the news saying they reduced their tax to 5%. They didn't really reduce it to 5%. They reduced it to 5% over and above what they already charged for other retail tax. I don't understand why the extra amount. We already know that the dispensaries have made the city safer because they've got so many cameras. They've got, you know, all this extra security that our police can tap into. And so I'm just going to say, if you want to save this industry, you better make a bold move today and then keep making them going forward with changes in the regulations like Gary was talking about. And we got to do a whole lot more. As far as, last thing I'm going to say is, we're talking about a comprehensive analysis. This will be either the third or the fourth comprehensive analysis that we've done on this subject. And we haven't gotten anywhere yet except to keep everything exactly the same where it is. So I'm going to leave my comments at that. I won't hazard a motion because other people want to speak and probably won't get a second. But I'd go much further than what everybody here is talking about.
Did you want to go before I go?
Yeah, I'll go, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
Thanks.
So for me, the real question, you know, this is temporary, and I'm more concerned about long-term. I'm more concerned about what's going to happen, you know, 5 years down the road in an insecure market, where the federal government goes. So I'm trying to put everything into mindset here and trying to be innovative, bold, if you will. What do we do? I think we need to be at the table with the cultivators, with staff, and with the state to see, we're at our adolescent stage, if you will, with our ordinance. So we still have a lot of time to grow. We still have a lot of time to put our minds together and really see where we can take this. And being secure, having a securing market, not only for the cultivators, but for the city also. So I think we're way we're jumping way too fast to make decisions right now. This is temporary. I'm willing to support a temporary tax break, but not something cutting off taxes altogether right now. So that's the decision I'm at, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. All right, let's unpack my thoughts here. So myself, Mr. Betts, and Ms. Pye were 3 of the 5 council members that were on the council when we initially came to the conclusion that we were going to move forward on allowing cannabis in our community to be cultivated and dispensaries for sale. We were one of the first cities to be in the forefront of allowing this. We weren't the first city to build the ordinance, but we were the first city to open up the first legalized cultivation in the state of California. We have that memorialized on 2 Bunch Palms. I remember attending Mr. Snyder's groundbreaking for the first developments in cannabis, new build. And so there's a lot of people that I'm very familiar with in the audience here, because all of you have had opportunities to come to my office and speak with me at any time where I've come to your businesses and spoke with you. And never once has your thoughts ever gone on a deaf ear. I've listened to each and every one of you. This council, at the time, it was new. A lot of you spoke, and a lot of people in the past that have business leaders have spoke and said, just legalize it and we'll get going. And I know the tax is going to be a little bit high, but let's get things going. And we did that. We did see a couple years ago that we needed to do some reductions, and we went back and reformulated that and got rid of the $25 on the first 3,000 square feet and brought it down to $10, and then started implementing the CIP, because that wasn't being implemented. And I think we do have something on the record with that, so we have to go back and check that. But either way, we're in an industry, we're in a point in the industry, and I've been advised by many of you in the audience that we have to do something now to help the industry. And even though Mr. Betts always thinks he's on an island, he's going to be shocked and someone hold him up. I'm going to be supporting his thoughts here today because after listening to everything and seeing where we're at, I do believe that we need to be closer to the $5 mark. I think we'll be a leader in the industry. I think we'll produce more business. I truly respect what my other two colleagues are saying, that they don't want to reduce too fast because we don't know where we're going to be at with that comprehensive look. And yes, we've done a comprehensive look before, but that was in a different time. Now we're going to do another one, and we're going to be more proactive. And this council, this council and former councils have always listened to this industry, and it hasn't been reduced as fast as it probably could be. And I know CV Can has been a great partner with the city over the years, starting their organization through this city and working with us. And I totally get what you guys you're advocating for. I'd be doing the same thing if I was in that industry. I'd be advocating for zero. But we also have to balance our budget and make sure that we don't reduce things too much, that we have to fight our way back to a point. And there's a lot of good points that are made on the industry side, and there's a lot of good points that are made up here when we're not just looking at your industry, we're looking at the overall picture. I think Abe brings up a lot of good points in the dispensary sales. Right now, people are paying that extra 10%, and that's being passed through to them, but is that causing people into the black market because they just don't want to pay that? And that's something we have to look at going forward also. I think we have the most dispensaries in the Coachella Valley within a city limit, and so we've got to really focus on that and make sure that part of the industry, because right now, if you look past over the past few years, it's about almost a 50-50 split on cultivation and then sales tax revenues into our general funds from the tax revenues that we collect. So we should give both sides of the industry a good look to see where they're going and how we keep those businesses afloat. I don't know how many of the licenses that we had initially put out there and how many businesses had completely opened up, but we're always hovering around 10 in the dispensary area, and that's a lot for a small city. But we do see a lot of outside influence come into our community, and I really appreciate those dispensaries. On the cultivation side, I appreciate your business, I really do. You produce close to 2,500 jobs for our community, and I know what Ethan said a few minutes ago about having to reduce staff, that's going across the board, and I see that, and I've heard that multiple times. So how do we counter that to make sure that you're successful? So I think this temporary reduction down to $5 would be reasonable today. I think the industry understands that that could go up a little bit if we do a really good study on security, cameras. There's multiple pieces. I've been talking to our city manager's office for years on this, and there's lots of areas that you've advised us on where we could look at areas that we could find relief in for you in the industry. I don't want to get to a point where we're not bringing in revenues for our general fund, because it is a significant amount. It really is. At one point this year, I forget what the total revenue this year so far is, but it's over $5 million if I remember correctly. Am I close to that, Jeffrey?
Pretty close. So for this fiscal year, we've already brought in $2.8 million.
Okay, so when the final payments are made, it could be twice that, so that would put us so closer to $5 million to $6 million, somewhere in there. And if that's the case, and we are able to collect all that, when you have a budget of around 20, I think this year was 22 or $23 million. Am I close to that, Jeffrey?
No, actually, we have a budget closer to $30 million.
$30 million. But either way, you can see that that's a significant amount of money, what it does for your community. So you got to balance that, and you got to figure out where. And I know we have revenue, we have reserves of $5 million, and we can take some from that. So taking $1 million out of those revenues to help with this industry today. I know the states reduced their tax payments, and the city of Desert Hot Springs can maybe help with that a little bit. But again, we're a community that's in need. A $30 million budget seems like a lot, but when you're competing against other Coachella Valley cities that have closer to $100 million budgets, it's not as big, and we have a lot of services for here. So I did hear a lot of great things tonight. I heard comments about how we want to see what the study will look like. I do believe when you have bad crops or how the square footage is, I think all that could go into with the security and all the other things that have been suggested by the industry to look at and help reduce that tax for you in the future. So I do support that. We'll be in, so we have some members of the council that are going to Sacramento this week. I'll be going to Washington DC later this month with some staff members, and one of the things I put on their plate today was to make sure our lobbyists had us in with, last time I went was 4 years ago, right for COVID, and we went and talked to every legislator that would see us on cannabis because they were talking about the banking industry. I will do everything I can in my power to continue to push at the federal level. What worries me at the federal level is eventually it will be legalized, and what tax will they want? So we have to prepare for that today. So if we think about it today, when it does become legalized in the next, who knows how many years from now, but it will eventually be legalized, the federal government's going to want a piece of that too, right? So we have to prepare ourselves for that also. So with those comments, I again, completely supportive of, I think, a 50% reduction after thinking about this overnight and reading some more staff reports and speaking to our staff today. I think the industry understands that that reduction could go up a little bit if we came back to them with a study that showed that we would be reducing in certain areas and other things like that. So I again appreciate each and every one of you. We'll go back for another round.
I would just say that our revenue is reduced from 21, 22, and 2021, and our expenses are above our budget. We're waiting until June, and with the analysis, it's not that long till June, and with the analysis, we can come back with probably more, but we're messing with our budget now also.
Yeah, and I totally, I believe in that point. I appreciate that point. Taking from the cannabis reserves a little over $1 million to help reduce it to 50%, I think would be a good step for the industry today. And then by June, the first meeting in July, we'll definitely have the numbers and an idea of what they're going to present in hopes that it will balance the budget. So I appreciate your comments. I understand where you're going with it.
Mr. Mayor, I would make that permanent to $5. You're saying you want to keep it temporary pending some kind of review?
Correct. I still want to see the comprehensive study to show what else we can do to make that overall permanent reduction in the future with the other caveats that the staff has talked about.
Now, what about, let's not apply that to an outdoor storage area that happens to be supplying, something they need in the grow area. What if we limit this to the canopy grow areas only and modify ordinance 3.33.030 to take out things, as the ordinance says, for storing any products, supplies, and equipment related to any such activities, no matter where such storage may take place or such storage space may be located. I mean, this was back in the day when we said, let's just tax the heck out of this. I think that's important relief here. It ties it into those things that are directly attributable to the growing. I would really like to see that in there.
And I could totally support that in the future once the study's done. I think it all needs to be wrapped up. I think an immediate relief to $5.10 a square foot for right now would definitely help the industry. And then by the next cycle, we'll have a permanent reduction, and they can all come back. They'll be able to see the full study, and the industry will be able to give us advice on how that works.
One more question. We've had, 2 cities reduce the...
We're still in line with both cities when it comes to the cultivation tax rates.
But I'm talking about the retail dispensaries. Now we have 2 cities. What is that? Cathedral City and Palm Desert, who went to...
The dispensaries aren't agendized for tonight, so it's just a cultivation.
I think we're talking about any tax. I don't think there's anything that's relative. If
It says cannabis cultivation tax, so it has to be to reduce tax. That's dispensary tax. That was a different tax that was voted on by the people.
I checked with the city attorney ahead of time, but my understanding is that we're a temporary dose in dispensary and cannabis. They can cultivate at the cannabis. Maybe that ties in.
Do you want her to answer your question?
Sure, thank you. With the agenda is items actually for dispensaries, and I believe our conversation was specifically for dispensaries. I'm sorry, not dispensaries, for cultivation, excuse me. So it does only talk about the cultivation.
Okay,
Now,
got
with that, you could go ahead and make any kind of, alternate motion or look at something different other than staff's recommendation. But
Well, the
tonight is
question
on
is,
cultivation.
the question is, are we on cultivation, or are we on cultivation and dispensaries, or are we on just marijuana
It
taxes?
is just cultivation as far as how I'm reading the staff report.
Okay, I'd love it if staff reports would come a little more broad, so that we can consider more. But anyhow, let's get this on the canopy grow areas and exclude, the outside storage areas that are not at all related to the actual grow. That would be a really good addition. And I'll make that motion if I could.
Well, you're going to be specific about your motion so Gerald can capture it, please.
Okay. Modifying that the rate be $5 per square foot, applied to canopy grow areas only, and modifying ordinance section 3.33.030 space as to no longer include taxable square foot calculations such as hallways, workrooms outside the grow area, space used for storing any products, supplies or equipment related to any such activities, no matter where such storage may take place or such storage space may be located. That's straight out of the ordinance. I didn't make that up. That's just striking that one section. And then that takes it into, when we go into those rooms and we look in those rooms, we see where the marijuana is being grown. And I'm sure you've had the same tours that I have, say, God, why am I being taxed on this building that's sitting out here where I'm just storing my supplies?
Well, let's see if we can get a second on that first for discussion. The issue we're going to have is we don't have an analysis on how that's going to impact our reserves. So that's going to be the problem I see, and that's why I can't support that second right now.
We don't have the ability, we don't have the luxury of waiting on this one, is my assessment.
I understand that. Is there a second to his motion?
I can't second this motion because I haven't did a tour of any of the cannabis facilities, so.
So there is no second on the motion, so the motion dies. We'll go back. I know that Mr. Gardner, you had some comments.
I recognize what you're saying and the urgency for this, and I accept that, but I do want to take the time before we set something permanent. We're doing a temporary reduction for what they owe for the first half of this year, which isn't even completed yet. And they won't owe the second half until we have this in place. So that'll give us time to really, I hope, do a very comprehensive and thorough analysis, whether we go even, like I said, from square footage to just canopy or to a yield-based model or something else that we can put in place that will really not be bold and innovative, but also help this industry. So I'm happy with leaving it as a temporary reduction for now until we can get something in place, because sitting up here and trying to decide permanent things right now without data to back it up, without proper legal analysis and a few other things is a bit premature on my part.
Okay, if I could just respond to that quickly.
Hold on, there's nothing to respond on yet. I'm going to try a motion and then we can go back to a debate. I'm going to support the 50% reduction in taxes as recommended in the recommendation of one of the options by staff, and I'll make that motion.
Second.
And there is a second here, so now we'll open up discussion, Mr. Betts.
I just want to say that, this has been looked at for a long time. It's not just on a whim that I'm up here making these decisions.
No one said it was on a whim.
Okay, so
Don't put words in people's mouth up here, please.
Another thing is that, one of the advantages of the square foot tax, if it is a palatable rate, is that you don't have all the need for extra staff to go calculate what the actual yield is. You have to have a whole lot of personnel on there. That's an area where if you're looking at the budget, when this comes back for analysis, is figure out why do we have so many people watching for stuff that we don't even regulate. It's the state that's regulating that. We don't need to be, we're regulating as if we're watching the square foot yield when we don't need to be. We're just, watching the grow yield when we don't need to be. So anyhow, I'll just leave it at that.
Any comments or debate? All right, please vote.
Motion passes with Councilmember Pai opposed.
Mr. Mayor, members of council, if I may, this item is going to need to come back in form of an ordinance because we have originally done the taxes via ordinance. And so I'll be able to bring that forward at our next meeting.
Great. Some clarification on that. When does this take effect now?
So
The payment's not due till June, so we have time to get the ordinance in effect and get here and all that, yes.
So this will be providing relief for the June payment?
Correct.
The July payment.
Or July 1st.
For the tax period from January 1, 2023 to June 30th, 2023. So the current tax period, so will not even be due until July.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I know a lot of you don't want to hang out for the rest of the evening, so we're going to take a 5-minute break. Please be, we'll take a 10-minute break. Please be back at 7:45. All right, we're going to call the meeting back to order, and we're going to move back to public hearings. Our first item on the agenda is item number 7, which is the amendments to the housing element for cycle 6, or 6th cycle, 2021 through 2029. Mr. Clark.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and council members. This is really a housekeeping item for the housing element of the general plan. Just by way of background, the city received conditional approval for the housing element back in September of 2022, and October 10th, Planning Commission recommended approval, and the City Council approved the housing element on November 1st. In January 2023, while consulting with HCD on the final certification, staff realized that there was an error in the document regarding the site's inventory for lower income units. The sites had not been used in the previous 2 planning periods, as was stated in the element. So this amendment before you this evening corrects that error and deletes program 1.2, which required a rezoning of those parcels. No rezoning is needed to meet our RENA numbers for the element. So this is the way the amended text reads. It's basically strike through saying none of these housing sites were listed in the previous 2 elements, and then the last change is to delete program 1.2 in its entirety. And so with these changes, this will complete our housing element. We'll get the certification, and we're basically good for another 8 years. So our recommendation is to, first of all, find the previous exemption for California Environmental Equality Act still stands. These amendments are very minor in nature, and that the City Council adopt the amendments to the housing elements for the 6th cycle. I'm happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you for that. Before we go to opening the public hearing, does anybody have any specific questions? You did a good job on your report. We'll open the public hearing at this time. We'll take any testimony in favor, opposed, or a neutral position. Would anybody like to speak to this item? I see nobody coming forward. We'll close the public hearing at this time and open up discussion or a motion to adopt the resolution.
Quick comment, Mr. Mayor. I just want to say that, housing is of critical importance. Affordable housing is of critical importance in this city and in this state. And there are a lot of cities fighting these numbers, trying to do everything they can to avoid meeting this state mandate. And I'm really pleased to see staff has taken this so seriously, and to hear that we've gotten full approval from HCD now. And the only thing is, 8 years ahead now, we got a job to do. And I think this council is very much on board with making sure that job gets done. So thank you to staff, and thanks to this council for its energy on this item.
Anybody else have comments?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, just one. During my Planning Commissioner Academy, this was a very, very hot topic and contentious, and it's never going to be enough. So, I mean, I don't know what we have planned for, I'm thinking beyond the 8 years. I'm thinking deeper down the road as we grow. We need to start, to me, adding, a lot more senior housing, a lot more marketable rate apartments, low-income apartments. So we need to start looking up at, open up the books and looking wide and right. Sorry, I'm tongue twisted here. Wide and open and.
I get there a
Wine and
lot.
ride.
Yeah, I get there a lot, man.
So, I mean, whatever we can start doing to prepare for that, I think it's important. So, thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Carter, Ms. Pye, anything?
I'd like to make a motion for staff's recommendation.
There's a motion and a second. Once it's moved on the screen and seconded on the screen, if there's no further discussion, please vote.
Motion passes unanimously.
You have to do any reading on that one? No, okay. We're going to move to item 9 and ask to propose revision to the City Council and Commissioners meeting guidelines and procedures. Mr. Gardner and Ms. Pye have been appointed as a subcommittee for policies and procedures, and they're always looking at ways to update that in ways that will be beneficial to the city. So I'll give it over to the two of you. I don't know who wants to fight over giving a report.
He's chair.
Jen usually talks a lot, so she's going to give Mr. Gardner a time.
Thank you.
It's an inside joke.
I didn't realize I was chair. Okay. This is our second block of changes to our council internal policies and procedures that Ms. Pye and I worked on. We have a third one that we're working on with the city attorney dealing with our expense reimbursement policy, which needs some updating based on some legislation that was passed up in Sacramento, which we will hopefully have done by this fall. One of the things that we did specifically in this one, our previous policies did not apply to our appointed commissioners on the Planning Commission and the Public Safety Commission. So we wanted to, some of the procedures and policies don't necessarily apply to them. So you'll find in Section 6, we address commissioner conduct at meetings, decorum, familiarity with the agenda, commissioners' public disclosure of personal interests, things like that we already have. We put a separate section in for our appointed commissioners. We added some clarification in Sections 12 to address conduct of us here on the dais, and as well as our commissioners, as well as some remedies for violations of conduct. And Section 13 we put in is a minor temporary change to our reimbursement policy until we get the full package done dealing with how policies are how council members going to events, the city purchases a ticket and the council member does not attend or does not notify the city manager or find somebody to replace them in going to that event, then the city will not purchase those tickets anymore, and the council member will have to purchase them and get reimbursed later on. And then we also added a provision in there that requires all of us at the dais, as well as our appointed commissioners, to adhere to the city's personnel policies that every single one of the employees has to also adhere to, because that deals with how we as council members interact with our employees and our staff, and that we should be held to the same standard that any other employee of the city should be held to when it comes to dealing with such things as sexual harassment and things like that. So we added that. Then there is a separate section. I don't know if you want to take this now, because our intention was to bring forth this package, and then there's a section in 13.2 that continued from a meeting 2 weeks ago.
May I keep it separate?
Okay, we don't want to discuss it now, or we can discuss that after we attack this piece.
Yes.
Okay.
If you want the meeting to go along quickly.
Yes.
Thanks.
So that's mine. If you have any questions, I don't know if you have anything to add to what I put out there. So.
Except with the tickets, if it's a valid, you had to take someone on your job, and so you couldn't attend someone. You would tell the city manager would excuse it, and you wouldn't be reimbursed.
I wouldn't be sanctioned.
And it would give the city manager an opportunity.
Now you see why.
And it would give the city manager an opportunity to find somebody else to fill that seat and represent the city there. So that's all I've got.
Before we get to questions and comments and all that stuff, do we have anybody in the audience who'd like to speak to this item? I see nobody coming forward. We'll close public comments. And Mr. Betts?
Yeah, now, on the meeting attendance, some meetings like the Senior Inspiration Awards, I think it's really important that, you know, a physical body be there. But at some other events, maybe like the Airport Museum Gala, I think part of that is support for that entity. And I could think of other examples where the main thing is recognizing a very important tourist attraction to the city and a very important attraction for the city. And we may want to support that, but may not want to be there. So the question would be, is there a mechanism in this policy to where we can tell staff, well, go ahead and, well, whatever it is, if it's some, you know, whatever the event is, that, hi, we're going to make a attendance there, but we're not necessarily going to be there. I think I get the part where if you say you're going to sign up for something, you need to be there unless something urgent comes up or health reason or whatever reason. But I think you need to open the possibility that somebody may want to support these events and not go. And really, it's some of these venues and some of these events, it's not really to go and be seen at a VIP event and, you know, stuff our bellies as much as we love chicken, fish, or beef. It's always the options. But we may just want to support the event itself. So I think probably the way we got around this before without getting into all this complicated stuff is we had each council member had an annual stipend based on what was available in the budget. And Scott will remember that because way back when he and I were having a contest to see who could spend the least of our stipend. And then the late Carl Baker was going over, and so we all chipped in to cover his share. So but that's the way it worked. There was a lot of congeniality there, and it took a lot of the micromanaging of this off of that. So is there anything in there, have you given any thought to how you support an organization that's putting on an event that isn't necessarily...
Wait. Are you asking a question before you change what we put? Are you asking a question?
I'm asking a question. Is there any mechanism, have you given any thought to being able to support an event, or is this, the only way you can support it is to show up? You can't just support it monetarily.
Can we answer the question?
Well, of course you can.
Go.
I got to ask the mayor.
Don't ask me, they're the subcommittee.
Yes, the mechanism for that would be that if you want to support an organization, let's say you want to purchase a ticket to X organization's event to support them, and you can't go, but we still purchase a ticket, you reach out to city manager and say, look, I want to support this, we can't go. If you can find somebody to go to this, send them to it. But what we don't want to do is buy a ticket to an event and not have anybody show.
Well, I may want to buy a ticket to an event and not show up.
Well, okay. So you got a table. You get a table, and only 2 people show. That doesn't make sense either.
Well, I'd agree with you that we're going to overbook. That's a whole bunch of people not making it. So maybe we're making a bigger deal out of this than it is and getting down into the weeds and don't need to.
But if you have a valid reason, then you're not going to have to do the reimbursement, or you call staff early enough to ask them to get someone else. But that's, you want to support someone, and so you say, go ahead and spend the money. And then Desert Hot Springs has an empty table.
Okay, well, we got an event that came up, I don't know where it is, some economic forum or something, and we've already got 2 tables, and I don't know how much that cost for the tables. Is 1 table or 2 tables?
So I believe it's 1 table, but I think that's even different than what's being discussed tonight. So that's actually being a sponsor out of our economic development budget. And so generally what we do, that's something that's actually coming out of Sean's budget. Sean's participating in that. And so what we'll do is say, hey, we have a table. Who would like to attend? That's a very different situation.
Okay, so let's get a more specific one. The Women's Club is having a barbecue.
Let me say one more thing. You're always talking about how much money we're spending. Here, one of the other things we're trying to do is to reduce expenses.
Okay, wasn't even considering that. These aren't that big of amounts. But like, for example, we've got the Women's Club barbecue coming up down at Dillon's Roadhouse. And I would love to support that. Women's Club's a great organization. I'm going to be up in Sacramento. I think I sent an email to staff who arranges this for us. Hi, would you please get a ticket for me? I'm not going to be able to make it, but I would like to support this event. I'm just asking a real simple question. Is that possible in this policy?
Can I try to, I understand what you two are trying to do. I think and tell me if I'm wrong, it's the perspective of individuals not showing and then getting their name announced and then not being able to wave and say they're there. So I think we're trying to avoid that with the cost of someone buying a ticket to go somewhere that's not going to show up. I get what you're saying. I think that needs to be reevaluated in a different way.
Okay, so I'll leave it at that. That answers my question. Let's just maybe take a look at that. That'd be my suggestion, not a question, that we take a look at different circumstances in which, like, for example, the Women's Club, that we want to support it, but we know we're not going to be there. Otherwise, my other option
And
is
if we had a mechanism for that, it'd be great, because there's been times when I've gone to events and people have been announced around me, and I'm the only person sitting there, and I have to say, they come up to me, well, where was that council member? Where was the mayor pro tem? I don't know.
Caught in traffic, so. Okay,
That's
thank you.
usually the
All right.
excuse. So you presented, anything else to present in there for the council to?
In this piece, no. So I'll make a motion that we adopt sections 1, 2, and 3 of the proposed revisions to the City Council Commission meeting guidelines and procedures.
There's a motion and a second on the screen. Any more?
Yeah, I just said, so on 13.1, so let's define who's going to be our alternate to an event. So I remember last year, the year prior to that, there was, I couldn't go to an event, but I wanted the library, a couple of people from the library to take my place, because I think it would be a great event for them to attend, and they weren't allowed to. So I think we have to define who is suitable as an alternate and who's not, because I mean, do we say another staff member? Do we say commissioner? 'Cause one thing I would like to.
The intent would be another council member, a commissioner, or another staff person. And right now, it's up to the discretion of the city manager, so you can take that as direction, and then we can.
I like the idea of community members. We have some very outstanding community members that can benefit from going to these things. I agree with Councilmember Nunez.
But if you do that, then you take the person with you. You take that as a council.
Well, we're talking about if one of
But
us
if we're
isn't
going
going
as
to be
an
there.
official representative of the city, it needs to be an official representative of the city, which would either be a council member, a commissioner, or a staff person.
Can we have the subcommittee go back with those comments and maybe bring something back to look at? I think there's a couple things have been made here that's really important, that we just
All right,
don't allow a
let's-
council member
let's-
to give their ticket to anyone in the community, and that maybe there's an opportunity to have somebody escort you to an event like that. So I think there's
All right,
stuff you guys can go back.
13.1, we can take 13.1 out, we can do the rest of it now.
So 13.1 says.
And we'll bring back
You're just gonna
13.1
take it out
next week.
completely for now and then reevaluate it, would that be fair?
Yeah.
Okay,
So if you'll take that out, Gerald, is that.
So you'll make the motion, amend your motion to take
To
that?
amend the motion to take out 13.1.
And will you second that amendment?
Yes.
Ms. Pye? Okay. So they'll bring that back for another discussion.
Okay, so.
Wait, what else are you taking out?
We're still having the discussion on 13.2.
Yeah, on 13.2,
correct?
that'll be up next,
Perfect.
yeah.
Thank you, sir.
All right. With that,
I got
who seconded? Jan, you seconded? Okay, any more discussion? Okay, please.
So let me just. There we go. Yeah, no, it's 13.1, Gerald, not, is it 13.1?
Yeah.
It's 13.1, not 13.2. Can you fix that on the screen? Or at least, or in the notes or whatever?
Yes, I have 13.1.
We show 13.2.
It shows
on the screen.
13.2 on here.
Okay.
I don't want another Palm Park incident.
Another what?
Remember when I made a motion years ago that said the safety zone was to go from Palm to Park? It doesn't work. Nobody caught it till we got done, so.
Can you take the verbal, or do you have to
I could take the verbal.
Okay, all right.
So what we see on the screen is 13.2, that will not be what we're
But
voting on.
he's changed it to a
Check your
13.1.
minutes.
Yeah.
Dan's my witness.
All right, Mr. Gardner?
All right, so now moving on.
Motion
to-
passes unanimously.
Oops.
Thank you. Go ahead. Go ahead, Mr. Graham.
Okay, now we'll move on to subsection 13.2. This is a continuation of a discussion we had last meeting or the meeting before, I can't remember which, dealing with branded apparel for our commissioners to wear at conferences such as the one that Mr. Nunez went to last week, to wear at the dais, or to wear to meetings where they're substituting for us at a public meeting or something like that. There was concern raised about previous abuses to people doing that. So we put in a section that says that if you, the city may purchase those for commissioners, that they are restricted in where they can wear them, and it's listed in there. They can only wear them on the dais, at an official city function, or at a city meeting when accompanied by a city council member. And that if they abuse that policy, then they get a reprimand from the city attorney for the first time. If they keep abusing it, then they're subject to being removed as a commissioner. And that was to alleviate the concerns that were brought forth at the meeting when we first discussed it.
And I disagreed with it. So we were back to where we were. And so rather than delay it, we bring it to the council and let the council decide.
So what are you recommending at this time? You guys don't have a recommendation because you couldn't agree?
Yeah, this is the council, the subcommittee didn't agree on it, so.
Oh, you didn't?
No, we didn't.
So that is what he wants.
Okay.
Yeah.
I say none of it.
Okay.
So, so I'm bringing forth that one and for
So we'll
all of us to decide.
We'll go to debate and then we'll decide how a motion's going to be. Mr. Betts?
Yeah, the only thing I hate to see the city attorney get involved in the administration of the city. I would think if we could have that be the mayor would kind of notify somebody or the city manager. You know, it's a little harsh for somebody who maybe slipped up to get a notice from the city attorney. So maybe the city manager's a little more friendly and.
I don't know. I don't know. I've known her for a long time.
I'd rather get a note from Jennif than I would from Doria.
When Doria comes in and she has something to say.
Yeah.
No, I just think, you know, there's a little bit more.
I'm not wedded to any of that, so whatever you.
You know, I would be willing to go along with this. I think it's great.
I prefer it not to come from the mayor.
Okay, well, then we'll go. If
Well,
you don't
let's go with the city manager.
I
So
think
why
I'm
don't
one
we-
of 5 people that would handle an appeal process if there ever was one.
Yeah.
So I don't think it would be.
Yeah,
it
that's
should
right.
come from me.
So I think I'm okay with making that the city manager then, and Doria's okay with
Well,
that,
then
or
you
she
got
can
my
give it to
support.
Danny.
Then I'm with you, Gary. You got my support on that.
Mr. Nunez, anything?
On 13.2, I just can't say how important it is for, you know, I will go back to say the Planning Commission holds a very, very valuable role in the city, in shaping and growing our city, and making decisions that houses and businesses or buildings will be here for over 80 years. And I think it's very important that they're representative of that. I mean, going to the academy itself, we had many people that had shirts that represented their city. I think it's important for them to be a part of that, to represent their city and show pride in that, hey, this is where we're going. This is the fastest growing city of Coachella Valley. We're changing things. We're moving. We're shaking. We're moving things up. We're growing. So why not let them reflect that?
That's a motion. I'll second it.
Let it be.
Well, we need to amend it to.
No, it's on there.
Do you agree with the manager instead of the city attorney?
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Absolutely.
So I'll make a motion that we adopt section 13.2. We take out the city attorney, replace that with the city manager, and go forward from there. One thing that did come up too in this discussion, I did find out from a Citizens on Patrol member who felt a little aggrieved at this, that they have to pay for their own uniforms. So I think we need to look at if we're going to provide. I think they should. The city should be providing.
What?
So
That's
that's
to pay.
different.
Wait a minute.
We'll handle that from a budgetary standpoint.
Okay.
That's off.
Well, I was going to make an amended motion on that one.
No, we don't need to do that. So.
I have a discussion.
So Roger, you seconding it?
Let me get a second first. Okay, and please, Ms. Pye.
We have the responsibility to set policy. I, for one, and if I lose, I lose, but I, for one, don't want to set policy where I'm putting someone at risk because of this agenda. And as for the things that I said before, and I understand, we should not necessarily worry about other things, but we need to learn from history, and that's my thing.
Any other comments? Please vote.
Motion passes with Councilmember Pai opposed.
When you hand these out to the commissioners, make sure you get it duly noticed on the rules.
All right, we'll move to the consent calendar. Nothing was pulled from the consent calendar. We'll move to public comments. Anyone who didn't speak at the beginning of the meeting would like to speak now to the city council on items not on the agenda may do so. I see nobody running to the podium, so I'm going to close the public comments. And before adjournment, we'll announce that the Planning Commission will meet on April 11th at 6 p.m. in these chambers. And the Public Safety Commission will meet on April 13th in these chambers. And we'll be back on April 18th for City Council discussion at 6 p.m. that day. With no other further business in front of the city, we are adjourned.